Welcome, guys, to another episode, and we're hoping you're having a good holiday. And we look forward to sharing what we have for you today. This has been one of my favorite songs that has kept me going. I recently saw when she did a launch, because 2020 has been a crazy year. And when she just talked about reflection and looking at the many blessings that God continues to give us, what can you say about that?
God is good all the time.
Yes, so let's get into our video for today. But before we go, please just listen to this part. What the Lord has done, what the Lord has done for me. What the Lord has done. If God has been good to you, then join us in singing this song. Okay, so this is our last video for 2020, and we thought we'd reflect on just how the year has been for us. So I was having a conversation with some of my friends, and they were talking about feeling like God has not really done anything for them in 2020. So my husband and I here are going to be sharing with you how our 2020 has been, and hopefully just one person can have something to see.
It has been a blessed year after all.
Yes, I think there is something to be grateful for. It is just about your perspective and the way you decide to look at things. Small things are still a blessing. So Brighton and I are just going to be talking about a few things. So what are some of the lessons that you've learned in 2020? Let's start with just our faith.
Well, you need faith. You need to have faith. And you know, the thing with faith, I was actually reflecting on it, and I was listening to some motivational speakers, and one thing that struck me was you can't demonstrate faith when things are really going well. You can't really say you're demonstrating faith. It's when things are really going tough, when the chips are down, you know, when you're out of a job, your health is bad, or you know, you're sick, or you in a bad relationship, or you're facing some challenge. Then you can show that you have faith, you believe in God. God will get you through a situation. Because when all things are rosy, it's easy to say I've got faith. But when the chips are down, that's when you can really see, do you have faith?
Yes, so let's share about our chips being down in 2020. It started off with you being laid off at work. I won't share it, you will share your experience. Share a little about it.
Okay, the year started off pretty good. You know, it was like, just another year with optimistic, upbeat, 2020. Let's hit the new year running. And yeah, a short while into the year, but almost midway into the year, so it was just because of the COVID-19, things sort of like stagnated, with all these quarantines, isolation and all that. But things were sort of like just chugging along. Then midway, out of nowhere, out of the blue really, I got laid off, and that was kind of a surprise, but fortunately, I was very fortunate that, I like I say, I believe in God, and I think that really helped me because I didn't treat it as...
Wait, before you even get that far, remember how I reacted even when you came and you're like, Sha, this is the end. And to me, I'm like, what? A part of me didn't believe it. And I think from our past experience, it always takes you how many weeks to get another job?
2, maybe 3 at the moment.
Yeah, and it was easy at the beginning, like you're saying, with our faith. And we're like, God has been there for us. You always get contract jobs. And then all of a sudden, this time around, it took you how long?
Not 1 month, not 2 months, but 3 months.
3 months, and it was hard. Okay, so let's talk a bit about that. So people actually get to feel that when we say, God is always there for us and God has been good, it's not because life has been perfect. I know we went through times, actually during that time, even the money we had invested just went down, like literally, it was literally as if we didn't have anything, right? And at first you panic. We shared in our other video that at some point I even said to Brighton, I was like, Job's wife, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing to God? Why does he keep making us go through the same trial? And it's so easy sometimes to find someone to blame when things are going south, when things are bad. But Brighton, on the other hand, how were you feeling at that time?
At the time, I was just like you were saying, it's not the first time I've been out of a job. I was just like, you know what, something will pop up pretty quickly. I was fine. I was actually very calm, if anything. I was just like, just take this, try and, because all the time, whenever if I get out of it, my contract finishes or whatever the case, I'd always be like, I wish I had been more productive during that time. So I was like, let me lay back, let me get some rest.
But did you ever feel like maybe you were not performing well, or maybe that's how you got laid off, or it was something about you? Because I remember the first time people got laid off at work, you were not part of it.
Yes.
And your boss really liked you. So did it ever make you feel like, you know what, I'm secure on the job?
Well, to be honest, I thought I was secure because my particular situation, I was like on a very specific section of the project, so it didn't feel like there was any threat of me getting laid off. So I was quite comfortable. I was like, I'm fine. And like you said, I had a very good relationship with my boss. He was a really good guy, and we would always talk about these things. But I think it was the third round of layoffs when it came, and when I got hit. So yeah, but I I had a good boss, and he spoke to me, and they were just like, even the guys, the general manager, when they told me that, look, it's not a performance thing, it's not anything, it's just a case of, look, the situation is just getting worse, and the company is struggling. There's really nothing we can do about it. So it was one of those things I did not feel, especially on this particular occasion. I think this was the one time where if I was getting laid off, I actually felt, I was pretty good about it, surprisingly.
Please. I remember we got to a month where now we were running out of our funds. And when you know that next month rent is needed, we still have bills to pay. And that's when God just showed us that God is still God. I remember at that time, because I helped several people, someone was going through a hard time, and I had little money left that was just enough that was going to help us. And I decided, you know what, let me just give it. Of course I struggled, I won't lie, and I was like, okay, but if I give that, none of us are working at the moment. Is God going to come through for us? And just being able to give that money just proved to me, Anna, God does not need you to take care of you. Let that sink in. I'll repeat it. God does not need you to take care of you. It's not about your job, it's not about your experience, it's not about your knowledge. He can use other people. I literally had friends and people I did not even know about come through for us. Some paid our rent, some paid our bills, some just checked on us, like mentally, are you okay? Like, I will be honest with you, at some point I thought something was wrong with Brighton, and maybe he wasn't comfortable sharing with me. And I remember talking to one of the guys who was checking up on him, and I was saying, you know what, call up, whenever you can, because maybe he's not able to share with me as his wife, But the amazing thing about God is when he got the job he got now, I was telling him that we had certain requests because he was working a lot at his other job. Like, we wanted him to be home earlier, we wanted him to spend more time with the kids because I'm already homeschooling, and I also just wanted to break a few hours when he'd get home. And God being God, he got that on the job that he's at now. He works a few hours, he's back home by 5. He's making more than he was making on any of his other jobs. So that all just goes to show what?
That God is good and he can be trusted, because again, like you're saying, the situation was like, I never would have thought that was possible because I was working crazy hours all the time. We leave home when it's dark, get back home when it's dark. You just get home, you eat, and you get to bed, and it's like just on the mill every day, same cycle every day. So now I should get home early. The sun is still out. We can take the kids to the park. You can hang out and like wow.
And I get a few hours to myself, which I really appreciate. I've managed to be able to do a lot of things, and in the time that Brighton was not working, God also blessed me in my business ventures that I decided to start. I started a clothes business, and I had people just ask if I had anything in their size and they would buy it. To be honest, I was sharing with Brighton the other time, and I was saying the times I would post without praying, no one would buy my stuff. But the days I posted after praying to say, God, you know what, I'm just putting this out there, you need to help me sell these things. People bought like crazy. And each time that people bought, what I also learned is God uses us to bless other people. There were times I would get money and I'll be like, okay, fine, now I can buy what I've been wanting for so long. And like, is it last week or 2 weeks ago, I got money that I didn't think I would receive, and it was a lot. And I was like, dude, our Christmas is sorted. We can go and enjoy. And in that week, I found 3 people who needed help. And I was laughing with him because I didn't understand why that money had come into my account, because it wasn't expected. But God had a reason. And it's that learning that I think the experience that we had with Brighton, where people came through for us, also taught us a lot of things, like that. The same way people were there for us, we need to be there for other people. We had people who did not know just send money in our accounts, and like now the investments are better, so some of the money is back. And we have learned that even when we make money, we can't keep it to ourselves, especially when it's a luxury. You know, I remember we were laughing about it, like the time that we weren't working. What happened in our house? We never went hungry. We had more food than we had the time that he is working. And it goes to show us that God is amazing. God is always watching over us. You know, he doesn't need us. Like I told you, he doesn't need you to take care of you. And that is one of the most amazing things. And I'm dwelling on one point when it comes to the lessons we learned in 2020. Do you have something else that you learned besides faith?
I think that was the real standout lesson, you know, the faith, trusting in God, because like it's something, like I was saying, it's easy to talk about. We always talk about how you must trust God, but you know, when you really go through it and you experience it, and then you see God working in your life through other people, you know, and then you see like, wow, then you say, you know what, yes, and you know, God is looking out for us. We are blessed, and blessed more than we realize, you know, and then you just start really take stock and think, you know what, I really need to be more appreciative, and I need to be more generous, like you're saying, you know, to consider other people. It's not just about us. It's not just about you all the time. It's about God using you to be a blessing to others. One of my favorite writers always says that God could have used angels, but he decided to use us as human beings so that we get to love him and actually know him better. I have learned a lot in 2020. I started homeschooling. Our son had speech delay, and the way God has come through, what has he done so that I'm not the only one talking? Yeah, his speech has really improved. You know, like at the beginning of the year, it was really frustrating. You'd be irritated, or you want something, but you can't really communicate.
Can't understand him.
Now he's not perfect by no means, but he's so much more improved. Like you can actually converse with him and understand him, and some of the words come out clearly. So at least there is that communication that is now clear. You know, that if you want something, you know what he wants, what he's trying to express. So you know, God has been good, and he's slowly just getting better. And and I guess it's a blessing to see him develop and grow. You know, just getting better and better. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the next point we're going to go to is just sharing with you that when I started the year, I asked God to use me in any way possible, and I've tried to use my platforms to just share about God. And I thought it would be easy. We're talking about it with my husband, that sometimes even when God uses you, that's when more trials come. I went through the most for the past 2 months. I just started having hormonal imbalance issues. And just to show you that we are also normal, we have our problems, is we started a marriage series, which was amazing. We got people who were sharing with us and everything. But when we did our first, was it the first one? Mm-hmm. The first one, Brighton and I just fought out of nowhere. Like it was such a small thing, but we blew it out of proportion. And he was not talking to me. I wasn't talking to him, you know, and it just shows you, because I get so many people who say to me, Anna, your relationship is different from mine. You guys are perfect and everything. And I just wanted Brighton to share so that it's not always me. So you don't think one of my guy friends was like, you know what, I think you hold a gun to Brighton's head. So now that he is here, he will just share with you so that you know that it's not because we are perfect, but we've just asked God to use our marriage to help other people. What can you say about that?
No, that's very true. You know, like, hey, we go through things, and then to be honest, our relationship I think relationships is important for growth. Like, yes, we did have a stage where it was always just constantly fighting. We could not agree on anything. You know, do we use salt or do we use sugar? Something that simple. But, you know, now we've gotten to a stage where, and I'm not just and I don't want to just trivialize and say, oh, things magically just got here. We gotta help. That is important to say. We did go for counseling. We got help to get to this stage. And then from what we learned from that counseling, we've then put into practice. Because I think one thing that was important for us was the sincerity. We both wanted the relationship to work. And from that and putting those things into practice and realizing that, you know what, we did love each other at one point. We had some troubles, but we still love each other. And that's the important thing, that sincerity. So now at this stage where we get along in so many situations, you know, like sometimes when we go for we can go for weeks or even months and we haven't even had a disagreement. I'm like, whoa, okay, one is going to be coming pretty soon. But
and he decides to stop fighting with me just because it's been a while.
But you know, that thing, you know, that's just how good things are. Like, you know, things get good. But of course, every now once in a while, maybe I'll say something and she's not in one of those cheerful moods and I just do my thing and say something silly. Yes, and then, you know, we get into one of those things, but again, we quickly resolve. We try to get it over quickly. We don't want to let it fester and grow, because it's usually whenever you look back, like from now, we look back at any disagreement we've had in the past, it's trivial, or we don't even remember it. Yeah. So
we're like, what
was that all about? So never take such things too seriously.
Yeah.
Life is too short for that. Have fun. That's really the thing.
And I think the thing that has helped us the most is our friendship. We support each other. Like for me this year when I was doing my business, he was my driver, he was my postman, he was staying with the kids when I needed to go plait people's hair. You know, he really allowed me to also invest in my passions, you know, even with my coaching, because someone can call me and I think it's going to be for 30 minutes and it's the next 2 hours. And sometimes he has to end up bathing the kids, cooking, putting them to sleep, everything. And it takes that friendship that you're able to identify that at this point, my friend needs me and this is their weakness and I'll be their strength in that time, you know. And the things that you just agree, you know what, this battle is not really worth fighting, and we've just gotten very comfortable with each other that we're open. We are so open. I think I remember the other day when you were saying to me, Anna, I know like he doesn't have emotional intelligence and I had okay, maybe that's a bit insensitive, but but just there are things I normally would say that he then said to me, you know what, Anna, some things actually hurt. But to me, I'm just like, dude, you know, how can that even hurt your feelings? But we are able to be vulnerable with each other. And I think as couples, or if you're in a relationship with someone, if you cannot be comfortable to be yourself, then that means there is a problem. And there is no way a marriage or relationship can change if you are not able to communicate. I meet a lot of people, like even when I was coaching this year with people that we met through the marriage series, we keep telling them, if you have a problem, don't assume. We shared that experience of how I saw you remove your ring, and I thought you were saying because we're having problems at that time, it meant the relationship was over. And years after, when we had the discussion, what was your answer?
The ring was too big, it was always slipping, so it was pointless, you know, I just took it off.
Can you imagine? And for me, for so long, I was like, he's got the nerve. For me, that is just a deal breaker. If someone removes their ring and I removed it, and we just ended up fighting so much. But anyway, without making this video long, because it seems you're focusing on one point and then it just goes on and on. Guys, we're getting into 2021. A lot of people are feeling like there is nothing to be hopeful for in 2021, or 2020 has been the worst. What do you have to say?
Man, for me, I have been through a lot, and I know other people have been through worse things. Some people have family members who've been affected directly by COVID. I know some people who've actually passed away as a result of COVID. No one in my immediate family, but I do know people who I could call friends who've been affected by it. It's been a terrible year. I've been through our family issues and my employment issues, but it's one of those crazy years. But at the end of the day, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for 2020, and I'm just hoping that with everything that we've learned in 2020, we can just take it into the new year and just use that to make the next year, 2021, a fantastic year. Things can only get better, and things can only get better if we have the right attitude and we trust that God will be with us in that new year. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. Just hey, gung ho, let's really have a gas.
And I think in 2020 we've just learned the importance of family and just having a great support system. Like what I said, I went through the past 3 months. I was just sick. I was going through so much, to the point where even things that I knew God had called me to do, I almost threw in the towel. And I remember one of the days saying to Brighton, I can't do this anymore, why is it God keeps allowing me to be sick, And I said to him at some point, why is it always me and not you, And that's the reality of, what happens when you're facing different trials and you don't understand. You always look for a reason, and I like what one of my mom's friends always says, God is God. You can never figure him out. If he has allowed something to happen, it means that he's going to see you through, even in the worst situation. And I've learned in my months of being sick and all that, failing to get up on some days. I remember one of the day I didn't want to get up, and this voice inside me just kept saying, you know what, you've got work to do. Just get up and continue your coaching. That day, I realized the person I was supposed to coach that day was going through suicidal thoughts, and they needed that one reminder that they still have worth. They mean something to someone. And had I not woken up that day, that person would have probably committed suicide. The other day also, I reached out to someone and they sent me a picture of wanting to commit suicide, So God needs us to be able to work for him. And when you are working for him, certain things will go wrong, because I hear people who will say, I'm the nicest. I do the very best for people. And they don't appreciate it. What do you have to say about people who say, tit for tat? If they're not going to appreciate me, I'm done. I'm always giving them money. They say the worst things about me. Like now with COVID, there are people who are working, who were providers for other people, who can't provide anymore. And now you're going to those people you are helping, and they're like, we want nothing to do with you. What encouragement can you give?
I was just thinking, talking about that, there's that thing they say that, I guess I don't say positivity or negativity. A person is like a ship. And the only way a ship will sink is if water gets into it. So if you let that negativity get into you, then you will go down. So you need to stay positive. And I think focusing on God is one way for me that really works. Just staying positive minded, staying focused. Because like you were saying, you went through so much with your illness and all that. You don't, but why me? It's a natural question to ask. And sometimes you may find that the answer to that question is 5 years ahead or 6 months ahead, but right now you can't get that answer, but God knows the answer for that, the reason for that. So just hang in there, and by trusting in God and just hanging in there, you will get to a position where you will say, oh, so that's why that happened. So it all just comes back to, like we're saying, the big thing for this year was the faith and trusting in God. Just stick to that, trust in him. All things will go well in the end. Just continue
to trust him. Yes. So I'm hoping that you learned something. I could share so many testimonies of how God has been good to us. And to end, I would just share a few to just help you stay encouraged. I tried to put a status on my WhatsApp, on my Facebook, and people have responded on some of the testimonies of things that God has done for them. I had a friend who could not have a baby for years, and she had a baby this year. I had a friend who was about to walk away from a marriage that wasn't working, and God came through. It's nothing that we did when we were praying for this marriage, but only God. Only God's changes situations. So if you're in a hopeless marriage, hopeless job, hopeless relationship, even in family where people are not understanding each other, God will come through. If I've learned anything this year, I remember at some point I prayed, I'm like, God, I want a spiritual group where people help me to grow spiritually. Surround yourself with friends who will help you with your spiritual growth. Friends where you can call and say, you know what, I'm going through a hard time. Go on your knees for me. And when they say I will pray for you, they actually mean it. I've seen it this year. Even when I was down and I was sick, I had friends who just prayed for me, and I was amazed that I actually had a great support system around me. And we all need that. I think we're living in our end times, and we've gotten to a point where we really need to make sure that we don't just live life like there's no tomorrow. We need to be the hope that other people need, and we need to live a life that shows that truly we believe that there is a God. For others who are not Christians, they're looking at us to actually see, does this Christianity actually work? Do you guys just speak about God? Like now where everyone is going through this COVID. If you are panicking like people who do not know God, the message you are sending to them is that God cannot be trusted. You can't be panicking like people who don't know God. This is the time that we should be showing people, sorry. Now I feel like I'm preaching, but this is the time that we should be showing people the God we believe in. I know one of the traits that my child has, or some of the things that he or she will do, because I've got boys and girls, they all do that. They will say, hey, the things daddy will do, not because daddy has done it, but they just believe their dad is a Superman. This is exactly the attitude we should be having. I'm reading this book called The Circle Maker. We both read it. Guys were moved. We're like, our faith needs to go on another level. And it was saying we need to claim those promises that are in the word. We need to, what was it saying?
Yeah, it's basically just, as believers, there are so many problems. We need to be acquainted with the word of God, because there are so many things that in there that are for our benefit. And if we just acquaint ourselves and we claim those promises, like, God promises us to protect us, to provide for us, all these things. So when we pray to him, we say, God, you are my God, protect me, provide for me. And these things, he will see us through. But if we just sit back and say, and we don't even ask him, ask and you shall receive. But how can you receive when you haven't even asked? That's all you have to do. So,
yeah, and spend time in prayer. One thing God does not want is people who treat him like Santa Claus. He actually wants to have a relationship with you. So if you're looking for him only when things are bad, then don't be surprised if you don't understand why he doesn't give you something, and he doesn't do that instant gratification thing that we see when you put the popcorn in the microwave and then the next 2 minutes it's done. God knows us individually, and whatever he does for us is for, Hansi, the plans I have for you are not to harm you, but to help you prosper. So God's got you. I hope you go into 2021 believing and knowing that no matter what situation that you're going through, no matter how hopeless it seems, get on your knees and pray and ask him to be there for you. If you want more testimonies, look for me. I will tell you the things that God has done. It's just I don't want to bore people with a video that is so long, but God has been good, and he is still doing good things even in the midst of all this craziness. Little things you will appreciate. For me this year, even the gift of using my hands, I have learned to appreciate, because I went through days where I could not even use them. My feet having wounds that would not heal. So this God has proved in my own life that he is there. He will take care of me. It's not about the financial success, financial freedom, and the one the world preaches, like, if God is there for you, prosperity is the only thing. God will bless you in different forms. Waking up, just being able to move every bit of your body is a blessing. Having no one sick in your family is a blessing. There's so many things. Guys, I'll stop here. Thank you so much for watching our video. Before I bore people, I saw my husband giving that eye like, chick, are you still going on and on? Can you stop? Can you stop? So thank you so much. 2021, we're still going to continue doing it. And thank you for all the support and all the messages you've been sending us. And if ever you need help, reach out. We're always going to help financially if we can, and spiritually by just being there for you in prayer. And thank you and happy new year. We look forward. Okay, it's not New Year yet, but
happy new year.
But happy new year, and enjoy spending time with your family. To end this video, guess what I'm going to do? Guess. I don't know all the words, but the message is the same. And this is my favorite part. Many blessings I have seen of what the Lord has done, what the Lord has done for me. Many blessings I have seen of what the Lord has done, of what the Lord has done for me. Happy New Year, and thank you for the support throughout the year. May God bless you.